Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taormina.
Welcome to OAA Now. Here I'm Sammy Taormina, blogger around the OAA, the host of Last Three Brain Cells, and the host between Taorminas on Orion Television. I'd like to welcome those watching on the local voice on SoundCloud and those watching on Orion Television. A lot to look at this week here, especially as we start the month of February. Of course, we're in the heart of it all. Postseason play starts at the end of the month, so a lot to really look at as we head into the final weeks of the basketball season. And let's talk about some teams here. Obviously, when you look at the storylines of how the divisions are, particularly on the boys' side, there is a lot of storylines there, and you take a look at it and you say to yourself, okay, we look at the division, we look at how everything is, and you look at the blue division, it is starting to look clearer and clearer now. When you look at the division, I mean, Rochester's win against Pontiac, the return of Max Mole, the return of Greg Tandy, of Jake Tandy, that says a lot to where Rochester's been. They right now have a stranglehold on the division right now. So when you really look at Rochester, they're a team right now that is a team on the upswing right now. They're a team right now that is right now one in the NPR right now in their district. They also have a lot of momentum. They got a big one this week in the crosstown against Rochester Adams at Oakland University. So that's a big game for them taking on Adams to see if they win that game. Honestly, I think Rochester would be the odds-on favorite to win that district. And who would ever thought that would be the case to start the year? When you look at the Falcons where they were at, they were a team that was on the rise. Everybody thought their schedule wasn't as tough as it was early on, but that stretch gave them confidence. And, they had that loss at, in the OAA MAC Challenge to Macomb Lutheran North, which was a really difficult loss for them. But they've turned things around, and I think a lot of that has to do with the play of Max Mole. But Mole went down with a pinky injury, missed the Stony Creek game. I really love the play of Logan Pleasant. I think he's done a really nice job. And the entire team at Rochester's been I've been really encouraged, really impressed with the way that team's been. I like where their sub-varsity program's at. Their JV's been undefeated all year. Their freshman program is very good. There's a lot to like when you look at Rochester. There's a lot to love when you look at the Falcons, just the way that they've been playing. I mean, like, the way that they've been they've been showing me that this is a team that really has, this is a team that is on the rise, and I think this is a team that really has shown me that this is a legit team, and they can really do some damage. Could they make a postseason run? They can win a district, yes, but I don't know if they can win a regional. But you never know. I mean, you never know, especially when you look at where Rochester is based in the district, based in the regional side of things. I think they're going east. But if they go basically north, I mean, it's gonna be a really tough sell. But you gotta look at one step at a time for Coach Nick Ebola and the Falcons. There's a lot to love with that team, and I really think with them, Rochester's a team that really is a team on the rise, and I think this is a scary, scary team heading in the postseason. If they can win at Bloomfield Hills, that would be a big deal. I mean, like, it'd be a huge deal considering where they've been. They got Royal Oak coming to Rochester. They got, and that's going to probably be their only challenger for the rest of the year. But that crosstown showdown match with Adams is going to be really, really interesting. Adams has played a tougher schedule, and Adams has really struggled this year considering. But, they've had the impact of the Langdon brothers leaving. They've really had a lot of things have gone down. but Adams is still a very dangerous team when you look at players like Trent Lagarde. I think with them, Adams, that could be a making of a really good game. I think that would be a really interesting game. I mean, you're going to have one side of it decked in yellow, the other side in blue. They're going to have the bands there. They're going to have the cheerleaders there. So it'll be a very interesting atmosphere over there at Oakland between Rochester and Adams over at Oakland University. So that should be a really, really fun matchup going forward. The team that I am mostly concerned about, and I got to bring this team up, and it's Stony Creek. I mean, when I look at the Cougars right now, this is a team that sits at 7-9. Really has not looked very good in their last two games. They did not look good. I mean, and I think the Rochester game really said a lot when they lost that one. And obviously Rochester did not have Maximo or Greg Tandy or Jake Tandy in that game, which is that's not a good sign. And then they had that they had a tough one, the Bloomfield Hills, where they lost 69-61. And then they were just absolutely devoured by Lake Orion. That was 69-30. That was 60. I think it was 63-32, which was just absolutely stunning. And then the biggest one I think for them was losing to Ferndale University, where they lost that one. I think it was 63-51. But still, this is you really are at a loss for words with Stony Creek, and now you got to start questioning everything over there now. You're going to have to start questioning. I mean, you got to wonder. I mean, you look at the success of their freshman and junior varsity programs or sub-varsity programs. Caleb Townsend did a nice job of their JV program. Alex Estruzian, he's done a nice job of their freshman program. Now but here's the thing, though. Sometimes that talent, when you have good years in the sub-varsity, it doesn't always translate to the varsity level. And I think that's what Stony Creek's been going for the last few years. Now, when Jeff Owen took the job, left Warren Mott, had a rocky first year, where they had a senior heavy team, but they didn't fit what he wanted to do. They did get a postseason win against Romeo, but ended up losing to Adams, or ended up losing to Utica Eisenhower in the district semifinals, and then the following year, they ended up losing to Utica Eisenhower, where second straight year they lost to Ike, but this case, you know what I mean? You thought, there were some times that were changed, that they were turning around. You kind of think, okay, maybe, you know what I mean? They're starting to get a little bit, and then this season, a lot of people in the media had this team one of the favorites to win the blue. Obviously you had Rochester there, you had Bloomfield Hills there. Royal Oak's been a big surprise. But Stony Creek has not gotten it done. I mean, they've won 7 games. I mean, that's 7 games. That's more than they've won the last 2 years. But something's wrong there. Something's amiss there. I mean, you look at, they got players on that team. They got proven playmakers on that team. It's just the defense. They've had a letdown defensively. They've had, their best players haven't really been their best players at times. It's just, and then maybe it's the, maybe it could be, you know what I mean? Could it be like the rotation? Could it be, is Coach Owen trying to find what his combination is? I mean, and I think there's a lot of questions now. I mean, you look at the record. I mean, you look at everything coming into the year. I mean, there had to be a lot of pressure on the players and the coaching staff to just get this done, to win the division, to see this program grow. And when you look at it now, where they're at right now, they're near middle of the pack. you're kind of saying, okay, now you're going to be in another difficult spot because you look at it now. You're behind Rochester, you're behind Pontiac, you're behind Bloomfield Hills in the standings, and now you're taking a really tough loss to Ferndale University. Now, albeit the Ferndale University, Coach Josh Nixon did a really nice job of that team. But when you look at Stony Creek, they're a D1 school. You have players that have gone through the freshman JV levels. You know, the freshmen who are now juniors have gone through it. The senior class, they've had 1 year under Coach Steve Norgrove. But this is your program. This is your identity. And something is not clicking between the junior varsity levels and the varsity levels, and it's showing. It is really, really showing when you look at everything that's going on right now over there. And now you got to start questioning, because you look at where Stony Creek's at right now. In the MPR, they're the number 2 seed. But Adams is starting to creep a little bit closer. So when you look at where Stony Creek's at, if they keep losing games, they might have to play on that first night. And that's not an easy matchup either. I mean, Utica, they're okay. I mean, they're getting better. I mean, Romeo's improving. Utica Eisenhower's been getting better. So when I look at the issues that Stony Creek has, it is clear something is not right with that program. Is it the players? Is it the coach? I mean, is it the ideology? But it is clear when you look at the losing streak they're in, something is not right with Stony Creek's boys basketball program. Something's not right. And, you know, you look at the schedule coming up, I mean, there's some wins on there. Definitely. But, you know, you could say that when they played University. But there's a lot of what ifs right now. And right now, when I look at Stony Creek, I mean, this is a team that's in some serious, serious trouble right now. They are in a boatload of trouble because you look at the way in that division right now. Royal Oak is a scary team right now. Royal Oak is a very scary team, the way they've been playing. They had to survive against Southfield Christian. That went to overtime. I don't know how that one went. Went to overtime. But the play of CJ Hairston has been outstanding for Coach Aaron Smith. And the way they're playing right now, Royal Oak could be a really dangerous threat to Troy in the postseason. They could be a real serious threat to them. When I look at Stony Creek going forward, there's players coming in that system. But the question is, are they varsity ready? You do lose Spencer Beckman. That's going to be a big loss, especially in the interior. You got Quentin Yugba. You got Charlie Felton. I mean, you got Tyree Smith. I mean, Tyree Smith coming in the year, I thought would make the next step. I mean, I thought he would coming into the year. I put him in the district blog. I put him as the key player to watch because there's been games where he's went off. I mean, the Adams game, perfect example. He went off in that game. Basically, what they did was, Smith shot threes. Opened the doors up for Quentin Yugby to have a big night. I mean, Stony Creek has got players that are more than capable of having big nights. The problem with Stony Creek is they have not been able to get the job done. And they still got to play Royal Oak. They got to play Pontiac. They got to play Berkeley again. Berkeley, we know they've been a team that's been just ravaged by injuries. So right now, Stony Creek's not in a good place right now heading in the postseason. They're just not. So that's a team that really concerns me going forward is Stony Creek. That's a team that really, really scares me. Is the Cougars, the question is, where do they stand? Because right now, they are not in a good place right now. They are not. And I don't know if a team meeting has to be in play here. I don't know but clearly something has to be done for Stony Creek if they want to save their season. You got 6 games left to do it. You got some winnable games on there. I think Romeo's a game that's on there. So for Stony Creek, this is make or break time for the Cougars, because if they don't, then they might be a first round exit again. So that's something to really, really look at if you're Stony Creek. I mean, that's a team that I've got serious concerns, serious warning signs. Just some big time concerns with Stony Creek. Speaking of the Blue, obviously, Bloomfield Hills, they're coming off a really tough loss to Pontiac. Pontiac, they can't. I mean, Pontiac's an interesting team to keep an eye on, especially in the postseason, because they're in a district with Notre Dame Prep and Birmingham Detroit Country Day. So when I look at Pontiac, obviously Gigi Claudio, the Hendricks brothers, Pontiac right now, they're in an interesting spot where they're at. Then you have Bloomfield Hills, obviously. Of course, they're in that district of West Bloomfield, Orchard Lake, St. Mary's, and Walled Lake Central. So it'll be interesting to see where they're at. Ferndale University. I mean, when I look at Ferndale University, I can't be more proud of what Coach Josh Nick's done with this team. I mean, you look at Ferndale University coming in the year. A lot of people project them finishing in the basement of the division. But he's done a really nice job with that program. They work hard. They got kids who can shoot the three. They got proven players on that roster. When you look at Ferndale University, I mean, enjoy the moment. That's what I would say to them. You know what I mean? The way that they're playing. They sit around 500. Win against Stony Creek, I think, is their best win of the year, obviously. But it could be a program builder, too, for Coach Nix in this program. So, really, for that win against Stony Creek for Ferndale University is a big, big momentum swing for them going forward. Because that's going to say, okay, we can play with these guys. Now, I feel bad for them in their district because, yeah, you got Warren Lincoln in there. You got Ferndale's in there. You got Detroit Pershing's in there. Ferndale's been one of my teams I've been really disappointed with. And I'll talk about them in the red segment here. But when I look at the teams that are right now on the way up in the division, you look at, of course, obviously, you look at you look Rochester, obviously. Then you look at Royal Oak, obviously. I love the way that the Ravens have been playing under Coach Aaron Smith. I've also kind of noticed the way the Ravens are playing is kind of like the way the Pistons are playing. And, you got to look at Coach Aaron Smith. I know he works with the Pistons, obviously. But the way that Royal Oak's been playing, they've been playing really good basketball. I mean, you kind of think about it. I mean, led, of course, by C.J. Harrison. I think C.J. Harrison's going to be a dangerous force for years to come. They got other players on that roster, too. I mean, there's others I like on that roster. But Royal Oak, to me, is a team that I think could be very, very scary going forward. And I think they could really make some noise. So when I look at Royal Oak, they're a team that's on the rise. They have a very interesting district coming up. They got Troy in there. They got Troy Athens is in there as well, along with Berkeley and Warren Mott. The Royal Oak right now is in a really, really, really nice spot And I think the Ravens are a team that could really make some noise going forward. So I really like where Royal Oak is at in the division, but also going forward. So they're my Rochester Royal Oak right now my hottest teams. Pontiac in the medium, Ferndale University's in the medium. And then Berkeley's a team that's been struggling. Bloomfield Hills has been in the medium. Pontiac. So when you look at the division right now, it comes and Stony Creek. I think is a team that's on the bottom right now. So, when you look at the top 23 around the OAA poll I have this week, basically that's where I'm leaning with Stony Creek, where the division is right now when you look at it. So, a lot to look at when you look at it. Let's go to the red. Team that's been I've been very impressed with. Clarkston's Clarkston. They had their I think Alzheimer's awareness game on Friday to honor Dan Fife and legendary coach at Clarkston along with his wife. That game, I watched that game against West Bloomfield. It got ugly early. It was really, really ugly. West Bloomfield had a 7-point lead at one point. But Clarkston's Clarkston. They got back in it, took the lead, pulled away late. Cole Charter had a nice game, 28 points. Quinn Rosenberg had a dunk. Obviously, Clarkston's experiences really showed here. And you got to give Coach Tim Wasilik a lot of credit. He's really pressed the right buttons with this team. Hayden Flavin's a solid player. You look at Quinn Rosenberg's has had his moments. John Call's had his moments. Quinn Rosenberg's had his moments. And you look at this Clarkston team, they can be really dangerous come postseason time. Even though when you look at that district over there in Auburn Hills, that district over there is the kiss at that district. When you look at Clarkston, you look at Avondale, you look at Lake Orion, Waterford Mott's in there. Now I'm not being sold in the Lakes Valley as much as people say I am. But obviously, you look at a team like Waterford Mott, who's right now clicking on all cylinders right now. It would be interesting to see how they would match up, especially against the likes of against Clarkston, against Avondale, against Lake Orion. See how they would match up. And I know Coach Jeff Dishon's done a really nice job of that program, and he's done a magnificent job with Waterford Mott. The player Jacoby Manyweathers, they've overcome the injury to a Max Januson, out for the year with an ACL. Waterford Mott, obviously, with all the with everything going on, been hearing a lot that come the OA next year. And it'll be interesting to see where the league puts Waterford Kettering and Waterford Mott once they come in the league. It would be very interesting to see where they would be put. So, Waterford Mott is a very interesting team. Really interesting to keep an eye on when we focus on realignment talks. Obviously, where would they go would be really interesting to see where they go once they come into the league. Been hearing a lot of rumblings. It could be next winter. But we'll see. We'll see. But back to Clarkston, I think they're a team that's scary. Avondale's, I think, my most impressive of the week because when I look at the Yellow Jackets, what they did to Ferndale, holding them to 36 points is absolutely insane. Considering, yes, they're small, but they're very athletic. Jordan Bush, Jordan Clayton, Jacoby Loris, Justin Greer-Sykes, they've been the story for Avondale. They've been the story. And you look at what Coach Jared Thomas has done with that program, taking the gamble, going from the blue to the red, it's really paid off for Avondale. It's really paid off for them. It's shown They've proven that they belong in the division, and it's really paid off. They got some wins against Farmington. They have that win at Clarkston, which is huge for them. They got Clarkston having to come to Auburn Hills. They have a win at home against Groves. I'm curious to see how they do when they have to go to Beverly Hills. So Avondale right now, they're a team despite the record, and I'm very shocked that they're right now fourth in the NPR behind Lake Orion, which is now Lake Orion's been on a tear lately. But Avondale, the way they've been playing their schedule, they played a tough schedule. There's a lot to like with them. And think about it, if Avondale finishes the 4 seed and not the 3 seed, I mean, if you're the 4 seed in that district, you're going to have to play opening night against Waterford Kettering. But then that winner sees Waterford Mott. So when I look at it, if you're the 3 seed in Lake Orion or the 4 seed right now with Avondale, you're kind of looking at and saying to yourself, okay, do I want to play opening night and play Waterford Kettering, get your feet wet before you have to play Waterford Mott, or get a day off of Monday and then you got to go play Clarkston? So really, when I look at it, so I don't know what's going to be when it comes to that situation, because Lake Orion and Avondale right now are really, really tight in the NPR. Really tight. So, but for Avondale right now, I'm really impressed where they're at. But if you're Avondale, if you get the 4 seed and you got to play Waterford Kettering first, and then play Waterford Mott in the district semis, I'm cool with that. If I'm Lake Orion, if I'm the 4 seed, go play Waterford Kettering and go play Waterford Kettering in the first round and play Waterford Mott, I'm cool with that too. So we'll see where everybody's at. But Avondale right now, the way they're playing good ball right now. Then you look at Groves has been up and down. I can't believe how they lost to Detroit University Prep. I still can't believe how they lost that game. Groves is 3-3 in their last 6 games. That's not good. If you're Coach Mark West, that's not good. That's not a good sign at all. Because you look at Groves right now, and you thought, okay, before the season started, this team's going to make the next big step. Then, you're coming off a district championship, but then you got off to a great start, then you're struggling a little bit. So here's the problem with that. Here's the problem. Groves right now, if they play 500 ball right now, they're in trouble in their district, because the way Birmingham Brother Rice is playing right now is ultimately scary. They just came off a win against Orchard Lake St. Mary's. They're playing really good basketball right now. And I know Coach Ricky Palmer wants another district title. And that district's in Beverly Hills, in Groves. So if you're John Shipson, John Gibson, Paul Hubbard, Landon McKinney, you gotta say, guys, I mean, we've lacked the last few weeks. We gotta pick this thing up again, because right now, the way we're playing, we're gonna get beat by Birmingham Brother Rice in the district. And we don't want that. So, for Groves, they got to get their act together. Adams, I talked about earlier, the way they're playing. Big win for them against West Bloomfield. 3-point basket by Trenton Lagarde, winning that one. So, Adams is fine. Big one, Rochester looming in the crosstown. I mean, they're going to be fine. I think they got a chance at Stony Creek in the NPR. They got a chance. They beat Rochester. I think they're going to really threaten Stony Creek. So big game for Adams this week when it comes to the NPR. West Bloomfield. Oh boy. How do I explain on that Coach Annette Jordan's team? Defense. My goodness. They had a nice game defensively against Adams, only allowing 57 points. That's still a loss, though. Didn't do well against Clarkson. Allowed 72. I don't know if I've seen a game where West Bloomfield has allowed under 50. I don't know if I've ever seen a game where they've allowed under 50. If West Bloomfield wants to win that district, and that's a tough district they got over there, because it has Orchard Lake St. Mary's in there, this team's got to defend! I've been saying this to Coach Arnett Jordan's team for weeks now. Please defend! You're giving up over 7. You're giving up over 50 points each game. You gotta defend! Defense wins championships! Offensively, you can win games, absolutely. But defense wins games, wins championships. That's why you're where you're sitting at right now. Played well against Clarkson in the first half, and then it went away. I don't know how to say it with West Bloomfield. Defense. You got to defend people. Have to. Have to. Then there's Ferndale. Oh boy. Oh boy. And Vineyard's playing well for them. But they had a really tough loss against East Kentwood over at Aquinas College on Saturday. What in the world happened at Avondale? What in the world happened? Only scored 36 points. I don't know if it's a schedule that coach and athletic director Juan Rickman's doing. I don't know. Something's amiss over there. Is it Toronto Adams didn't play well, or or Avondale focused on not letting Eden Vineyard beat him? Good strategy by Coach Jared Thomas if he did that. But something's wrong here with Avondale. Something seriously is wrong with that team. Really is. Something's wrong with them. Ferndale, something's wrong with them. I mean, really it is. Gotta get fixed. Because right now, when you look at that district over there, they don't match up with Warren Lincoln at all. I don't know if Detroit Pershing even matched up with them. I honestly don't know. But there's some problems. There is some problems. So we'll see. See where they're at. Shall see. But they're right now a team trending on the down right now. Clarkson right now, I would say right now is where I have them right now is this. On there, I would have Clarkson this. I think Avondale's going up. I think Clarkson, they're right where they're at. North Farmington is on that side here too. Groves has been like a little bit on the downward swing. Adams has been stale a little bit. Ferndale's been a team that's on the downward swing. So that's my take on the Red. I mean, West Bloomfield is another team I think has been on the downward swing. So that's my take on the Red right now when you look at where the direction all these teams are going. So see what happens. And the White, everything's setting up for that Oxford Lake Orion game on Tuesday. Oh, that can be a madhouse over at Lake Orion High School. Oxford's won 16 straight. Lake Orion's won 13 of the last 14. It's gonna be a crazy atmosphere. Obviously, Oxford won 57-37 against Lake Orion, but Lake Orion did not play Nate Giacalone nor the Nearings. They're gonna have them this time around. So you look at that matchup. I mean, it's going to be an interesting game. It'll be a real interesting game. And there's a lot of ramifications. Oxford wins that game, they got the white all locked up. Lake Orion wins that game, they're tied for a share of the division. Oxford loses a lot next year. Lake Orion loses a lot, but when you look at program strength, from a program strength perspective, I would trust Lake Orion in that area. You look at that game is going to be absolutely insane. It should be a really good game. It'll be a really, really good game. It's an NPR game for Lake Orion, considering where they're at in the standings with Avondale. Could they get close to Clarksville and knock off Oxford? Absolutely. For Oxford, the key for them, they got to hold off Grand Blanc. Because Grand Blanc's right behind them in their district. Right behind them. I mean, Oxford could go undefeated and not get the number 1 seed in their district. That's very real right now. Because the way Grand Blanc is right now. And then whoever is the 2 seed is going to probably have to deal with Davison. But Davison is not a guarantee considering that where they're at with Shorts Creek. Shorts Creek's right there too. Then you have Lapeer and Oxford. And Lapeer and Holly. If you're the 3 seed, I don't want to play Holly. Even though Holly's down this year, they're still a very dangerous team. They're still a very dangerous team. And they're well coached under Coach Steve DeHart. So, right now, it's a big game for both teams. Big game for both teams. Farmington, right now, has got an outside shot. They got Lake Orion and Oxford at home. So, right now, Farmington's a team that they're a scary group. Troy, of course, coming off a very tough loss to Oxford. Heard Mason Parker did not play in that one. Leo Penoza had 30 points in that game. So imagine Mason Parker, Andrew Lake, and Leo Penoza. That's going to be the key for those 3 guys. Blake Kuiper's huge in that game. If they get some sort of inside game, they're going to be tough in that district. It's going to be really tough. Seahome's been struggling, but they got a nice win against Oak Park the other night. It could be a program win, boosting win. Oak Park, I don't know where they're at right now. Harper Woods is really struggling right now. Troy Athens is, they're a team that they could surprise some people. But when you look at the division, everything's starting to point out to Oxford Lake Orion. It really is. So my take on the division right now, I would have Oxford, then Lake Orion. Both teams are trending up. Farmington's another team that's trending up. Troy is pretty much in the middle right now. Athens is pretty much in the middle right now. Seaholm, I have been trending up. I have Oak Park trending down, and I have Harper Woods trending down. So that's my take right now on the boys basketball side of things as we head into the month of February for this week. And then let's look at the girls side. In the gold, we started league play this week. Farmington, big win against blowout win against University. Pontiac right now is a team that's 1-0 as well. Oak Park really struggling. That division's going to basically be Farmington's division to lose. Really is. Really, really is. So we'll see where that one goes. Then let's look at the blue. I mean, the blue, I think, had one of the best games of the week. And that was A&T against Berkeley, where that game went overtime. A&T came from 12 behind to knock off the Bears. 70-68 in overtime. It's a big, big win. Big win for Coach Nikita Cotrain. Christian Banks at 35 points. That says something. That says a lot. So Coach Shakita Cotrain's got that team on the rise over there. Berkeley, they're fine. I'm not worried about them. I'm not worried about Berkeley at all. I'm not worried about them. They're fine. They're fine. Then let's look at the team that leads the division. It's Avondale. Avondale's going along their business. Blowout win against Harper Woods. They've got a lot of proven players on that team. They've stayed healthy, and that's a good sign for Coach Roy Krishman. You're looking at a possible clash with Lake Orion in the semifinal, in the district semifinal, a rematch. Tell you, I think that game's gonna be a lot closer than people think. Really do. Abner right now, the cream of the crop right now in the division. Troy Athens, they're still a Scooby-Doo team. Adams, they're getting better. They're a team that's on the rise once they start getting some players back. As I mentioned last week in the interview with Coach Joe Malberg, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. And then you look at Harper Woods. Harper Woods, I think, is in some trouble. It's a 5-5. They're in some trouble a little bit. Really are. North Farmington, young team, very, very young team, taking a lot of lumps. But that's what happens, if you're a very young team. You're going to take lumps. You're going to take some lumps. So when I look at the blue, I think Avondale right now is still the cream of the crop in the division. Followed by, I would say Berkeley barely over A&T. A&T's got that win against them. But I think I would say Adams still third because that win over A&T. Now, I know Adams has got to go to Southfield, which is going to be really interesting. And then that's a big NPR game for, for A&T, that win against Berkeley was very instrumental of their NPR chances. That NPR, that district over at Birmingham Marion is an absolute mess right now. And we're going to talk Seaholm in a minute, why I think Seaholm could be in some trouble. And I think Seaholm's in some serious, serious trouble right now. So when I look at A&T, that win got them the top seed in the district for now. But anything's possible. We got one more month before March comes. So right now, A&T right now, living on the edge right now. But I still think Adams right now, then A&T, then Troy Athens, then Harper Woods, then North Farmington. So that's my take right now on the blue. It's wide open still, but Avondale right now holds the cream of the crop of the division, and I think they're going to be a team that's going to be a very scary team going forward. So we'll see what happens with them going forward. Let's go to the white now. Oh boy. The division has changed in a heartbeat. Rochester now has firm control of the white. And a lot of that was Alice Max. Alice Max has been the difference maker for this team. She's been the leader. She's been the most consistent player. They've got guard play now with Taylor Parsons. I mean, it looks like they found something. They have found something. And that says something. They found it. They could seriously threaten Stony Creek. They could seriously threaten them for a ton of reasons. They have players who can match up with the Avash sisters. If they get any sort of guard play, they could pass Stony Creek in the NPR. They could seriously pass them. Even though Stony Creek's got a tougher schedule. And they beat them in the regular season. But the way Rochester's playing right now, that says something right now. They are playing really good basketball right now. They really are. Now we got to talk Seaholm. I mean, I'm at no words here. They kind of got spoiled. They got spoiled. They lost that drive. They lost their edge. They lost that, you know what I mean? Like, they got happy. And they have lost 4 straight. And it really started when Harlem Simpson went absolutely nuts against them. And it was a stunning loss. They have not been the same team since that overtime loss to Groves. Then they lost to Rochester. They lose the division lead. And then they lose to Royal Oak. I'm telling you, Seaholm's in trouble. They are in big, big trouble. And who would ever have thought that? Especially with the expectations that Seaholm had. The seniors they have on that team. Everything they have. They're in big, big trouble. Bottom line. They're a team that's right now struggling. They're struggling. You got to wonder what's going on with them. You got to wonder. Is it the season? Where's that motivation? Where's that revenge tour? Where is it? Because it's not showing up here. Really isn't. Really isn't showing up here. If you're Coach Chris Manchester, you got to find it. Find it quick. Because right now, you are on the verge of having to play opening night. And that's not good. And if Birmingham Marion passes you, that's trouble. And they're not having the greatest of years either. So that's trouble right there. Then you got to play Bloomfield Hills again. I mean, Brianna Young, you know, we know how good she is. They had you dead to rights had you not escaped that game. Good news is that game's in Birmingham. Bloomfield Hills has been playing solid lately. Royal Oak, we know they're back to being Royal Oak again. So that's scary. That's a scary thought. And then Troy, once Troy figures things out, Troy's been my most disappointing team, though. I'll be honest with you, they've been my most disappointing. Because, yes, the Diamond Prince injury hurts, but they were struggling even when she was playing. I mean, I can't figure this team out. I mean, I really can't figure this team out. Is it the lack of interior play? Is it direction? I don't know what's going on with them. I had high hopes for this team to start the year. I did. Yes, they had to play Lake Orion. They had to play Clarkston to start off the year. Then they had to play Oxford. But something's got to give here. I mean, obviously Macy Zider's only a freshman. But Kelsey Block's a senior. Diamond Prince is a junior. And, they got Carly Higginbottom there. They got, Kelsey Block, Sophia Castellanos. I mean, they've got some questions. I mean, is it the makeup of the team, the construction of the team? I don't know what's going on there for Coach Laura Guzman and Troy. I really don't know. But they've got to get something figured out. Because when you look at that district right now, they're in at Royal Oak. Troy is the last place team in the NPR. Who would have ever thought that before the season started, that Troy would be the last place team in the NPR and Royal Oak would be fourth right now? Who would ever have thought that? I certainly didn't think that. coming in the year. But that's where they're at. So, standings-wise, Rochester, I would say, then Royal Oak, then Seaholm, then Bloomfield Hills, then Troy. I mean, really. I mean, they've had some struggles this year. Really have. And then the red. Ferndale, we know about the issues they've had. Something to keep an eye on this week to see. They postponed the game with Oxford, postponed their game with Lake Orion. And I think it's something that I've always feared with them when it comes to them being in the red. Of course, the red has some of the best teams in the league that are playing each other night in, night out. And then you look at so Ferndale, I think right now is in some trouble right now. I really do. Oxford, they're getting better despite they're getting better. I mean, I know Coach Trevor Marshall's playing a lot of kids right now. A lot of young kids. So, it'll be interesting to see where Rochester is. So, I think it'll be interesting to see how things go, how things look with them. But, obviously, they play Allison Hufstedler, Mia Champagne, and Sophia Robb. Those big three are going to be the key going forward. They got others, too, that I really like as well. I mean, they got others, too. So, I mean, for Coach Trevor Marshall, he's fine. I'm not worried about it at all. Clarkston and West Bloomfield, that was 48-41. Clarkston proved that they're one of the best teams in the league right now. I think they are the best team in the red way they're playing. A lot of that's Eliana Roback. She's taking her game to another level right now. That says a lot. Brooklyn Colbert's had her moments where she's looked good, and then there's been some moments she's had a sophomore slump. So, and that's something that Coach Aaron Goodnow expected. Give a shout out to Maddie Sarupski for having 37 points in Oakland's win against Detroit. Shout out there. I know Coach Aaron Goodnow would love that. I mean, when I watch Maddie Sarupski play, she's one of the best players I've ever seen. If I had to do like a Mount Rushmore of girls basketball players I've seen play in my past, obviously Jenna Backrouge, North Farmington, Maddie Sarupski's right up there. She's right up there. And I've been a big fan of Maddie Sarupski. When she played for Coach John Wire and then for Coach Aaron Goodnow, I mean, like, what she's doing at Oakland University right now, it's just incredible. So shout out to Maddie Sarupski of Oakland University. West Bloomfield, they're fine. I'm not worried about the Lakers. I think the Lakers are a team that they could be a really dangerous team. Obviously, you got Sheridan Beal, London Hall. I just think the lack of depth in that game got to them. Obviously, Clarkson's a deep team this year. But also Clarkson had a lot of motivation considering, it was the Alzheimer's game, the Alzheimer's game where everybody was in purple in that game, supporting Coach Dan, the late great Coach Dan Fife and his wife. So I think Clarkson right now, they're the cream of the crop right now. They really are. West Bloomfield, I think they're going to be fine. They're going to be okay. So we'll see what happens. Then you had Lake Orion and Stony Creek, which ended up being a very interesting game. A lot of emotional back and forth. Stony Creek ended up winning that one 48-46. Honestly, in that game, I thought the officiating was awful. It was awful on both sides. Just some questionable no calls. And a lot of the calls against Lake Orion were just absolutely atrocious. Obviously, a couple against Charlotte Pepelowski were just absolutely terrible. Obviously, you look at that game and you think to yourself, what could have been? What could have been? I know those two teams meet at Lake Orion in the final game of the year. And that's Lake Orion senior night, too, which is going to be very interesting. When I look at the MPR scenarios for both teams, for Stony Creek, they're the 2 seed right now at the moment in their district. But they got to go through Utica Eisenhower, and that is not an easy chore to say at all. That is an absolute difficult scenario for them. It's going to be challenging for Stony Creek to get by Utica Eisenhower with the way that they're playing right now. But to help Stony Creek, help with Stony Creek here, they have them at home. And a lot of the majority of Utica Eisenhower's team is freshmen. So they really haven't played in a postseason surrounding. Whereas Rochester has, Adams has, Stony Creek has, Romeo has. So that's going to be a challenge for Utica Eisenhower when they come in the postseason. Because the postseason and the regular season, they're different animals. So there is still hope for Stony Creek if they want to win their district. Now, albeit they got to go through Rochester, which is not going to be an easy game either for them. But when you look at Stony Creek, all roads right now go through Utica Eisenhower. For Lake Orion, Izzy Walensky had a nice game. Charlotte Pepelowski's, I think, the key to Lake Orion's entire season. When Pepelowski plays well, Lake Orion plays well. When she doesn't, they struggle. Obviously, in the game against West Bloomfield, Kara Veter had a nice game. She had 10 points. But just imagine if Pepelowski, Veter, both have big games to aid Izzy. If that were the case, Lake Orion's very dangerous. So Lake Orion right now sits at the 3 seed, comfortably in the 3 seed. I don't see Waterford passing him in the standings. So I think really right now they're looking at Avondale in the first round in the district semifinals. Clarkson's playing Waterford. So there's really going to be, it's going to be really interesting to see how things look, how things are going to be. So we'll see what happens. But there's still a lot of basketball to be played. So in the red right now, I think it's Clarkston, West Bloomfield, Stony Creek, Lake Orion, Oxford, Ferndale. Ferndale, for them, I just not playing those 2 games, the postponed games. I don't know if it's weather related for them. I don't know if it's the numbers are there. I don't know. So there's a lot of questions. Surrounding Ferndale. A lot of questions. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens going forward. When we look at the divisions, when we look at the everything going forward when it comes to girls basketball. So we'll see what happens. All right, everybody, I'm going to sign off here. Make sure you follow the blog at Saturday4650 at blogspot.com. Make sure you stay tuned to a special OA Now during the ONTB Orion Oxford Fish Drive. We're going to be on air on Wednesday, live at around 1:15. So I encourage OA Nation to watch as we talk about the things, the positives surrounding fish. Also talk about what's been going around the league, obviously, especially in the basketball ranks. Might bring up some football. So we'll see what happens going forward. I'm going to sign off here. Take care. God bless. And I will see you all on Wednesday of this week. God bless and God bless all.